Hey, it's Em, here as promised with a video about things we've been watching recently, that being a very loose term because some of this is from months ago. And I apologize if there's noise. The downside of having converted the formal living room into my office is that I've put a curtain up, but it's still somewhat open to people walking through the main living room and doing stuff in the kitchen. Hopefully it won't be super, you won't hear it, but you might hear some ambient noise. I apologize if that's the case. We're looking to eventually put a wall and a door on this room, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So the curtain is a stopgap. Let's go on with things that we have watched. We'll start with The Studio, which I talked a little bit about in my last viewing video. At that time, it was still ongoing. The first season is now over. We really enjoyed it. We watch it as a family. And for me, as somebody who's worked in the studio system, I just find it a hilarious take on that system. And I think it'll do well in the Emmys, potentially, because the industry loves anything that has to do with itself, like anything self-referential. They really enjoy that, whether it's poking fun in a good-natured way. I guess the only thing they wouldn't like is anything super negative. But yeah, I can recommend The Studio. We're looking forward to another season of that. Also, Hacks season 4 ended. Not my favorite season of Hacks, but still better than probably a lot of television out there. So, in this season, Deborah finally gets her late night talk show, and Ava is her head writer, but under duress in a way, because Ava's basically blackmailing Deborah into being head writer, but Ava's also not really ready to write a, late night talk show of that caliber. Well, because it's very different to write something that has to happen, 5 nights a week, right? Compared to something where you're doing a set that you travel with. That's understandable. So yeah, we enjoyed it, but not as much as previous seasons, and that's no shade to Hacks. It's a very high bar, and you're not going to hit it all the time, and it's still a very good show. What we found is that watching The Studio and Hacks back to back each week was a real, that was fun for us. That was a good pairing, as it were, for television. So hopefully they come out again kind of at the same time, and we can keep doing that, because that made for a really good night of TV. Every Thursday evening we would get together and be like, okay, it's Studio and Hacks night. My husband and I watched Wolves. That's the George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Apple TV movie. Apple TV Plus. I don't know. What's the difference? I guess one's the pro version or whatever, right? The one you pay more for. I don't know. If you like George Clooney and Brad Pitt movies where they're together doing a thing, then you're gonna like this. I mean, to some extent it's pretty generic. They each play fixers, basically the kind of person you call to clean up a mess that is a little bit sus. They each get called to the same mess that they need to clean up, and they go, I guess, from there. It's the enemies to friends thing where two people have to work together who don't want to work together, and they're trying to one-up each other, and it turns out they know a lot of the same people because they're in the same industry. Why wouldn't you assume that's a very small circle? But it was fun. And it was fine. Nothing special, I wouldn't say, except that, again, George Clooney and Brad Pitt, they do have really good chemistry. I like watching them in movies together. So there's that. We also saw Thunderbolts. If you know me, I'm not a big MCU fan, especially lately, where it starts to feel more like work or a chore to watch an MCU movie. I'm supposed to have done a bunch of homework. I'm supposed to know so many characters and who did what, and I needed to watch like 5 TV shows or what. I'm over it, but I did really enjoy Thunderbolts. I liked the kind of underdog story of this ragtag group of people coming together. I think it dealt with the whole trauma thing really well. And I know there's a contingency out there who's like, ugh, it was all about crying into your, coffee or whatever, but vodka rather than coffee, maybe. But anyway, maybe, but I still found it very engaging. Sebastian Stan on the motorcycle, that scene sealed the deal for me, for sure. I was like, yes, I'm here for this. I liked it. I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four. Hopefully it is also good. We'll see. I'm also looking forward to Superman, which is obviously a different thing. We'll see how that goes. Oh, and we watched, and this isn't on the thumbnail, but we also watched Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, which was his weekly live talk show type thing. It ended at the end of May, and I feel like they're still kind of working out the kinks. It was better when they quit doing as many calls, because to be honest, I'm there to hear the experts and the celebrities talk. I don't really care what some random person in Idaho has to say. Sorry, Idaho, I guess. But I don't know. I didn't find the phone call part engaging, except when Jack Horner called, and I was like, how does he not know who I want to say, was that a bit? I want to say that was a bit, because Chuck Tingle called, Jack Horner called. I was like, is he pretending not to know who they are? Did somebody set up these calls knowing John wouldn't know who they were? Okay, so that was the whole thing. I lost my mind on that episode. That was the episode with the dinosaurs, obviously. But anyway, it was uneven for me. And, I don't know how they pick their topics or whatever. Would I watch more, John Mulaney if next spring they decide to do another 12 weeks of it? Probably. But it's kind of I used to watch John Oliver all the time. And then it got to a point where I just didn't feel like I needed more John Oliver, because he's very good at what he does, but it felt like too much. It felt heavy every week, and that's just the state of the world. I'm not trying to hide from that, but sometimes you need a break. And even though John Mulaney's not really doing politics, current events, whatever, I could feel the fatigue. I feel like I could potentially get fatigued with it over time. It might be one of those things where I only watch based on who's going to be on or what the topic is, rather than watching every week. But we'll see. It's an interesting format with the music and the guests and the expert and the calls. It almost is trying to do too much, especially when you're trying to fit it into an hour, and then there's often little filmed segments, very SNL-esque filmed bits. It needs a little refinement, I guess. So there's that. So speaking of talk shows, we also watched Late Night with the Devil, which I wasn't sure I'd be able to watch. I love creepy, eerie, psychological, but as I've mentioned, I don't do gore. I don't read gory books, and I definitely don't watch gory movies or television shows. So there was a scene that I had to kind of, through something with worms, it started to happen. So I did this, and my middle child is on the, we have an L-shaped couch, so they're on the other end of the couch. So I'm just watching them because I know they'll tell me when I can look at the screen again. Other than that scene, though, I was able to tolerate it just fine. And I really, really liked the style of it, that kind of pseudo-found footage, throwback to Blair Witch, I guess. But the little narration at the beginning that sets it up and explains what's going on, and then at the end it does get, again, a little bit bloody, a little bit gory, but not more than I could take. And I thought it was a fun movie. I liked it. It's a movie I would watch again, on Halloween or something. So that's saying something if it's a movie I'd watch again. Because there are a lot of movies I wouldn't, including Mickey 17, which I really, really wanted to like. I liked the trailers and the premise. I've not read the book, and I'm curious. Actually, the movie did make me curious to potentially read the book at some point, but I felt like the character we were kind of stuck with, which is Mickey 17, was the least interesting character. And I understand that as a technique, but he was kind of annoying. And I didn't, like, he's whiny and I don't know. And, like, I wanted more of the other characters, but we're just kind of following Mickey. So we get a little bit of Kai and a little bit of the girlfriend. His name starts with an N. Nasha, maybe? Nasha, I think. Kind of like Tasha, but with an N. And that actress, she is phenomenal. And I found out she's playing Donna in the Thursday Murder Club movies. Is it a movie? Is it a TV show? I don't even know. I love Thursday Murder Club, as you know, if you watch this channel. And she's going to make an excellent Donna. She's going to be so good. So I'm excited for that because, like, these characters were more interesting and yet they were very much marginalized. And then even Mickey 18, who's at least a little more assertive, and commanding. And we've got a lot of Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette mugging. And it's funny for a while, but after a while it's just like, okay, whatever. I don't know. It was okay, but not great. And I feel like there's a better movie in there somewhere. And it did make me wonder, is the book like this? Is the book better? Maybe the book is worse. Maybe he's actually improving on the source material. I have no idea. Yeah, I can see why it kind of did middling at the box office, because it wasn't great. I mean, it was okay. I'm not, am I sorry I watched? No, I'm not sorry I watched it, so there's that, I guess. That's damning it with fake praise. And finally, yes, Sinners. We watched Sinners. I was able to watch it. So the family went and saw it at the cinema. And they came home and they were like, yes, you'll be fine. Again, and my tolerance is, like, I have a really hair trigger gag reflex and, like, really bad bathroom humor. I don't find it funny, and it just grosses me out. And then, like, gore and stuff, just like, no. So we watched it, and it is really good. That's a good movie. Is it a little bit like, it hits very specific beats. It's a little bit predictable in that way, but the way it's done, the cinematography, the acting, the directing, the actual story, despite being, like, very, it's I don't want to say but, like, it hits very specific beats. But the character development, all of that is phenomenal. This movie is as good as everyone said it was, and better. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I hope its kind of horror underpinnings don't keep it from getting, like, awards. I feel like this Sinners could transcend that, though, because it's beyond just a horror movie. And the horror's only in the last, half hour or so. Also, kudos to using Wild Mountain Thyme, which is a song I grew up hearing and singing. And I love that song. And they made it suitably creepy in this movie. But that's a lovely throwback for me. Just a personal thing. But yeah, that's everything we've watched recently. We have tickets to F1 on IMAX on Friday. Not my choice, mind you. But the rest of the family is eager to see the race car movie on the big screen. And, it's Brad Pitt again, whom I like. So I guess we'll go see that. If nothing else, I'll be shoveling popcorn into my mouth and watching cars do a thing. I don't have high expectations for it, which probably is a good thing because it means I'm more likely to like it than not. because it doesn't have a very high bar to clear. Yeah, like I said, in the future, Superman, Fantastic Four are kind of the things on my radar. I know there's other stuff coming out, but those are the two big ones that are kind of in my head at the moment. So if you've seen any of these things, let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on any of them or stuff I should watch if, comparatively to these things. And until next time, take care.